Okay, here we go. Unit 6, Security. I'm going to review the beginning and Section 6.1, and then we'll talk a little bit about Section 6.2. Make sure you've looked at the objectives, have read the intro, and remember we're talking about data. The security of data, in which there is lots of places where data is stored. Okay? So we're concerned about where it's stored, when it's moving, when it's in transit, and also when it's being processed. Some software is actually working on the data. Who has access to that? Confidentiality, right? Confidentiality, who has access, and then also that data, is it accurate? Which we refer to the integrity. Can you trust the data? There's entire programs called data assurance. We're assured that the data is accurate and that only the people that need the data actually. So we talked about that here. Data integrity, data confidentiality, and we have to make data available. If we don't have to make it available, these two would be a piece of cake. But we need to make data available. You know, people have to be able to use their credit card to buy something. So they have to give that to Amazon, who then communicates to a bank in order to make the sale. Okay? We talked about information security in general. This whole idea of actually these things down here. Keeping the data accurate, confidentiality, where it's stored, while it's moving, while it's being processed. And then these key features right here. These are key. We have all kinds of products and devices that help us do that. You should have virus software on your PC or your laptop and so forth. We have companies that firewalls, even though not perfect, but that's at least one step in the direction. So we have all these. People make all this happen. Those people need to have procedures. We need to have some type of procedure, how to manage the security of the data, and then there's a policy or a guideline we need to follow. All of us should have clicked on policies, like in order to use Facebook, you agreed to their security policy, right? And if you're using Twitter, you've agreed to their security policies, whatever they might be. Snapchat, you've agreed to whatever they want to do with those pictures. You click that you agreed to their policies before you use those sources. So we put together hardware, software, communications, interactions, and all kinds of security solutions by having products, people, procedures that affect the system. Let's move into just a little bit of terminology, and these are easy to understand. The first thing, when it comes to security, you have an asset, something you want to protect. In this case, it's data. Okay. At your home, it might be your automobile or the stereo in your automobile or whatever. You have something of value that you need to protect. Okay. In this course, we're talking about data. Next thing, is there a threat against data? Let's think about that. Okay. First of all, one you might not think of a lot, or maybe you do, hardware failure. Your hard drive could go bad, and you could have trouble getting the data back off the hard drive. Okay. Other things you can't control. Weather. A tornado could come through and rip your computer apart. Okay. Here's the biggest one. People, either on purpose or not on purpose, can do something to your data. And if you want to do what to the data, you'll have to go back a slide, and look at, either change the data so it's not accurate and so forth. Okay? Changing data. So you're going to make a deposit to the bank, you're sending the information, and somebody changes your bank account to their bank account. That'd be changing data. Okay. That's kind of a crazy example, but at least it's one. So are there threats? Is there really a threat to your data? You have to decide that. Is there a threat to the data on your phone? Do you keep your phone on you all the time, or are your kids using your phone a lot, or your laptop, or a computer that sits in your house where people can access, or a computer that you give people access to at work or at the library? Okay? Is there somebody that can carry out the threat? Obviously, weather can carry out the threat. We don't have any control over that. Sometimes you don't have a lot of control over this, except maybe in the quality of the equipment you buy. In some cases, if you have your employees and you train them well, they know the procedures and the policies and so forth, you can have some control over the people, but not total. People can make mistakes and so forth. Is there a threat, or is there just plainly a hacker that wants your data? Or a competitor, a business competitor that wants to see your data. They want to see what you're doing. Okay? China supposedly hacked into both political parties during the 2008 election, and we didn't know it until almost November, and they'd been in there all summer. They didn't do anything to the data. They didn't really want to change it. All they wanted to do was just know what the political parties were thinking. Okay? Now, this next one, let's go back here. Vulnerability. Could it happen? Okay? Vulnerability can be measured. Okay? What's the chances of something happening? All right? They have lifetime on failure. They can say if you have a hardware device, it will operate for X amount of time or X amount. Okay? Let's say weather. Here in Iowa, we don't worry about hurricanes. We worry about tornadoes, but we don't worry about hurricanes. So we protect against tornadoes, not hurricanes. We're not vulnerable to everything. Okay? A hacker getting in. Well, how vulnerable are you? Do you have data that they really want? Is this really of value? Or could it be used against somebody or whatever? So you got to measure the vulnerability. Some of this can be measured accurately. They can come up with numbers of it, and other it's more of a guess on your vulnerability. And then what you do is you measure the risk. Okay? This is really important. You measure the risk. Okay, do we do something? Do nothing? Or do we remove the responsibility? Okay? Now, a lot of people who have a high risk, let's say you live in a neighborhood where there's lots of thefts, you might increase your insurance. Okay? You might move the risk to somebody else. People worry about backing up their data, so they move the data to the cloud. Now, that could be more risky or less risky, but have somebody else keep track of your data. Okay? Do you get it? You could remove the risk. You could pay somebody else to do that and manage the risk. You could save money and do nothing and then just figure, well, if something happens, we'll have to figure it out when it happens. Or mitigate it. Do as many things as you can to protect it. Okay? In most cases, there might be a little bit of a combination. Okay? You maybe decide you're going to lock the house and put a deadbolt in your house. Okay, so you're going to do something to mitigate getting robbed. Okay, rather than just doing nothing. Okay? Then you might also say, I'm going to take out some insurance, so if I am robbed, it's not quite as much of a blow to us. Okay? My last word here. If something actually happens, it's an exploit. Okay? And there's lots of laws now that say if you have an exploit, you have something happen. Okay? You had a vulnerability. Okay? There was a threat agent that carried out the threat. Okay? It happened. Okay? A lot of times there has to be a report. Whoops. There has to be a report dealing with that. Legally, you have to, in a lot of institutions, especially like banking, finance, anything, if they have a breach, they got to tell everybody within a certain time period. They can't hide it. Or the fines are huge. Okay. All right. So, do nothing. Mitigate. Step in there and do as much as you can, or at least some things. Or I'm going to remove the risk. I'm going to move that risk to somebody else and pay them to work about it. And what does that? How do you decide that? Man, it depends on how vulnerable are you. And your vulnerability is based on, is there a threat agent that can cause the problem? And you got to really look at, how serious is the threat? And of what value is your asset? That's it for today.